to be here in New York. Adams believes that he got shopped. The Jets GM, Douglas, came out in a press conference and said, I did not actively shop Jamal Adams. However, I received calls, one of them from the Dallas Cowboys, which is Jamal Adams' hometown team. And he just couldn't get the price that he wanted for Adams, which was a first and 2 seconds, which quite honestly, that's what I expect from the super fans when they say, oh, I'll trade this guy, but I expect this in return. Nobody gets that. So the Cowboys actually offered a first and a third, which to me is extremely fair value for Jamal Adams. I would have taken that. I would have ran. They didn't.
Well, I'm glad it didn't happen because it's not like Dallas needs any more help. Thank you, Dave, for trading the Michael Bennett. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with the Jets. This team is bordering on a dumpster fire right now. And the fact that they're playing Miami gives me no solace to confidently pick them to win this game. Real quick on the injury front for the Jets, Chris Herndon's nursing a hamstring. He's questionable. Albert McClellan has been put on injured reserve. C.J. Mosley and Kelechi Osemele are out. Tremaine Johnson is questionable, along with Trent Gannon and Kevin Beacham.
C.J. Mosley might as well be on IR. He's out for like 6 to 8 weeks with something.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. C.J. Mosley is a pretty good linebacker. And I'm talking because I know you're about to try and give me Miami Dolphins injuries, but I've told you they are irrelevant. We do not need a Dolphins injury report.
We do need the Dolphins injury report because, again, they acquired injured cornerback Aqib Talib from the Rams, who was placed on injured reserve already.
The salary dump.
Right.
They also got a 5th rounder. They got Aqib Talib and a 5th rounder for a 7th round pick. That is the definition of a salary dump.
Yes, it is. But a player who did play Monday night has been placed on injured reserve, and that's Xavier Howard with knee. So I don't know what they're going to do in that defensive backfield because going into Monday night, aside from Kenyon Drake, I thought Xavier Howard was the next best piece they had to offer to get something for, and now they probably can't do that with him on IR. At the end of the season, I don't think either of these players, Howard or Talib, remain with the Dolphins.
I don't know what Xavier Howard's contract status is, but he may not have a say in that.
Exactly.
All right. Hey, look at this. 4:00 game? As a matter of fact. James.
I believe there are 4 of them.
There are 4. There's one less game than last week. There's a Sunday morning game this week, and we have 4 4:00 games this week.
There should be 4 4:00 games every week.
What is wrong with these schedule makers? I don't. Their logic makes literally no sense.
Jay, I've always said if you got West Coast teams traveling east, they should always play at 4:00. I don't know why they forced them to play at 1. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, no, we need that East Coast advantage.
Hey, when the East Coast teams go west, they play at 4:00. They don't play at 1.
That is also true. All right, here we go. In a game that is between, quite honestly, 2 evenly matched teams, so should be a good game. The Detroit Lions are 3-3-1. The Oakland Raiders are 3-4. The Lions are 16th in the power rankings. Raiders are 19th, so unfortunately, home field advantage does not give them the power ranking pick. The power rankings will go with the Lions, even though the Raiders are favored by 2 points. And despite the Raiders coming off their bye and looking good in London, I think Matthew Stafford is having a big year this year, and it's fueled by his wife's battle versus brain cancer. He also has 4 games with 3+ touchdowns in 2019. That's tied for the most in the NFL. He had 391 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, no picks in his last road meeting. I'm going to go with the Lions. I feel fairly confident about that. I guess I could have locked in the Lions. But I'm not going to. I'm just going to take the Lions. You're taking the Lions too.
Yeah, and I'm only taking the Lions because they're at home. Like you said, these teams.
No, the Raiders are at home.
Matched. They have similar offenses. They both have quarterbacks that play up and down to their potential in any given Sunday. Offenses that tend to befuddle the imagination as far as what they're doing because of all the talent they do have, and defenses that puzzle the imagination because you don't know, can they really stop anybody? So this would be good. Patricia, Gruden, see what genius level stuff comes out of this game, if you will. But I don't have much faith in the Raiders sustaining excellence, if you will, at all this season. I expect them to do no better than 7-9. This is one of those 9 that I expect them to lose. But who knows what could happen, because every time we put faith in Detroit of playing well, they tend to stink the bed and lose one, like this one. Center Rodney Hudson is doubtful for the Raiders. Justin Phillips was an injury waiver this week. They waived him with the injury settlement, so you don't have to worry about him, which is why they re-signed Brandon Marshall, which I don't understand why they didn't re-sign him 3 weeks ago when Montez Burfict was suspended for the rest of the year. For Detroit, Darius Slay still questionable. Another corner, Amani Oruwariye, is also questionable. Mike Daniels and Tracy Walker are also questionable as well. So secondary can get picked on, but, I mean, there's not much threat from these Oakland wide receivers yet.
Well, Terrell Williams has been a pretty decent wide receiver for them this year. As long as he's playing, he's been a pretty good threat. I am surprised the Raiders didn't make a trade, because you have a wounded Kansas City Chiefs team and you are second. You're only 1.5 games behind Kansas City right now. Take the opportunity. But as I've said, the Raiders don't want to win this season. They want to go 8-8 at best. So this is going to be another one where they're going to drop it. They're going to lose.
Real quick, Jay, if the Raiders were to make a trade, who would you like them to get? Because I feel like, aside from quarterback, maybe in Carr's status still up in the air, and maybe running back, they need help everywhere. I mean, they need a true number 1 wide receiver. Tight end is so-so. They have a revolving door there. The offensive line is not what it was 3 years ago. The defense is apathetic at best, lethargic at worst. I mean, they need help all over the place. What 1 or 2 players could you see them trying to acquire by the deadline?
They needed I think they could have gotten a wide receiver. I think they could have made a stronger push to get a wide receiver to join that team. I know they're coming up soon, but I kind of want to hit it early. I'm kind of anxious to get there, but are we on Cincinnati yet? No, Cincinnati's on a bye this week. All right, you want to talk about? We can talk about Cincinnati right now. Here, we'll take the moment to talk about Cincinnati.
Let's just put out there, AJ Green. Are you shocked that no one tried to acquire him, or that Cincinnati was unwilling to move him, depending on what side of the story you're reading?
It's difficult because he's technically injured.
Mm-hmm. That didn't stop the Rams from trading Aqib Talib. Yeah,
but that was a salary dump. That's a difference, right? So unless you're trading AJ Green in a salary dump situation, I guess it comes down to how much do you believe AJ Green is healthy versus not healthy. And even when AJ Green is healthy, he's not healthy, right? He's been battling an injury, it seems like, the last 2-3 years at this particular point in time. I do question what is going on in Cincinnati based on the fact that they are benching Andy Dalton for Ryan Finley. Now, if you play Madden, you know that Ryan Finley in franchise mode does improve to be a franchise quarterback, but that's a video game. It's not real life. Just want to let you know that out there. I mean, I don't get it. Andy Dalton wasn't the problem. We highlighted that numerous times on this podcast about how Andy Dalton was still putting up quarterback level numbers, but the team wasn't winning. Same with Matt Ryan in Atlanta. Matt Ryan isn't the problem in Atlanta. He's still putting up. He's getting he has like a record. I think he was close to a record for the longest string of 300 plus yard games to start a season. Andy Dalton wasn't the problem in Cincinnati. I think their coach, I think they hired the wrong coach to replace Hugh Jackson. And I think there's definitely a talent disparity that doesn't exist on that team, and I think they're being much too loyal to some of their aging veterans. They should have gotten rid of A.J. Green. They should have absolutely traded away A.J. Green if they got an offer from any team.
Yeah, look, we knew that coming in because of how badly his ankle was injured in the preseason. It was IR designated to return. I don't even think, has he even started practicing yet? Yes. He hopes to be a full practice participant by next Wednesday, so a week from today. And they expect him to play the Week 10 matchup against Baltimore to be his first game of the season. At this point, yeah, I agree. They probably should have traded him some other team in contention or with hopes or aspirations of getting to the playoffs that could use a wide receiver. I'm surprised they held on to him.
I mean, Joe Mixon hasn't been Joe Mixon this year.
They haven't gotten much out of the running game at all.
And that's an offensive line problem.
Joe Mixon, that offensive line is in shambles. They can't run block to save their lives.
Listen, is Cincinnati the new Cleveland? I don't know. Cleveland hasn't given up being Cleveland, so.
Cleveland just found a new way to Cleveland, that's all.
I suppose so. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 2-5. They are at the Seattle Seahawks, who are 6-2. Seahawks are ranked 6th in our power rankings. The Bucs stay firm at 25. The Seahawks are favored by 6 in this game. Here's your NFL 100 nugget, not because I don't have anything like I only give these NFL 100 nuggets when I've got literally nothing to say about this particular game. I'm giving you an NFL 100 nugget because it fits my narrative this week.
Oh, gosh.
On November 3rd, 2013, Seattle completed its largest comeback victory in franchise history after trailing Tampa Bay 21-0 at halftime and winning the game 27-24 in overtime. It shouldn't come down to overtime this week. The difference in the game, the Tampa Bay defense allows over 30 points per game, and Seattle allows only 24.5, and they are at home. And we know what Seattle at home is like. We are both taking the Seahawks. You are locking them in.
Yeah, and I might want to be a little hesitant with that lock because knowing what Seattle is at home doesn't dispel the fact that they lost 2 already this year at home. More disconcerting for that lock is that their center, Justin Britt, was placed on injured reserve yesterday. Ooh. So there is a nice little shakeup coming in that offensive line. Despite the Buccaneers allowing the most points in the league at this point, they still have, I believe, Shaq still leads the league in sacks.
He does.
This point.
10.
So they may give up points, but they still get after, at least one of them gets after the quarterback. My lock's probably more so just that I think that Seattle wins this game. Not so much going away, but it's, again, you talked about the number of one-score games thus far in the league. This will probably be another one. And it'll probably come down to the Seahawks having the ball last to get the game-winning field goal or game-winning touchdown. I do think that Jameis Winston bounces back this week from his poor performance last week, which was dismal. Kept turning the ball over in a sense where he shouldn't. But like you said, Arians is holding on to him as much and as long as possible. This is a make-it-or-break-it year. I honestly believe the Buccaneers need to be somewhere around 7 or 8 wins for Winston to come back, because I have to show some type of promise going forward worth keeping him. As far as injuries for the Buccaneers,
hold on. Put a pin in the injury report. Back to Winston.
Go ahead.
The problem with that is Bruce Arians in the post-game conference basically did his best Denny Green impersonation and said, "You can write whatever you want, but you have no idea. Those interceptions were not Winston's fault. Those receivers weren't in the areas they were expected to be in." And Winston, Bruce Arians is going down with the Jameis Winston ship, and he doesn't care who knows anything about it. It's admirable, but at the same time, Jameis Winston isn't a franchise quarterback.
No. Well, again, I still say the book is out on that for right now. He's had some excellent games this season. He's also had some horrible games this season. I would like him to play somewhere in the middle consistently without turning the ball over. That hasn't happened much, like I said, aside from those 2 excellent games. But the interceptions he has thrown